Welcome back to the deep dive.
Yes, welcome back, everyone.
Today we're diving deep into Mark Tilbury.
Mark Tilbury,
That's right.
a fascinating entrepreneur.
Yes, an entrepreneur. And you actually interviewed him, right?
I did.
This is going to be good. We're talking business,
Business side hustle.
side hustles,
And achieving financial freedom Tilbury style.
Tilbury style. That's right.
I mean, I've looked at this interview.
Yeah.
It's packed with great advice.
It is. This interview is really interesting, especially if you're one of those people out there, and there are a lot of you, looking to build wealth outside of the traditional 9 to 5.
Right.
What I think makes his journey so compelling is that he started at 16
His team.
with no qualifications.
Wow.
But his lessons are totally relevant in today's, digital world.
Yeah, the first thing that jumped out at me was how he challenges that whole go to university, get a good job path, right? It's almost countercultural these days. It really is. He's all about trades and alternative skills. He even argues that we're sending too many people to university.
Too many people with university.
Burdening them with debt.
Yeah.
For degrees they may never fully use.
Right. It's like, is it even worth it?
Right. He thinks only the very best, those destined to be, doctors and such.
Doctors.
Should even consider university.
He actually believes that only 25% of people should go.
Only 25%.
Wow. So only a quarter of the people
Yeah.
should even consider university.
Mm-hmm.
It made me wonder, are we too focused on that one path to success?
It's a good question, especially when you hear how successful Mark's son is, deliberately avoiding university to forge his own path.
I love that story about how his son skipped all the university open days just to resist the pressure.
Yeah.
I think it's a powerful example of thinking differently. But here's the thing. He isn't just anti-university. He's pro-earning fast. He talks about selling all of his time early on, working multiple jobs. And that highlighted the limits of earning solely through hourly work.
Exactly. Those early jobs, even the side hustles, like selling fish and flipping cars as a teenager.
For a teenage.
Weren't just about the money. They taught him the hustle that's key to his entire philosophy on time.
And that leads us to the aha moment when he meets that wealthy customer while installing a staircase.
Right.
Right.
That encounter changed everything.
It seems to have been a real turning point for him.
Yeah.
Before it was trading time for money, but now it's about building assets that generate wealth. And this leads right into Mark's incredibly down-to-earth definition of business.
Yeah.
He breaks it down to buying or producing something, adding value, and selling it for a profit.
It's so simple, yet so powerful. He even says fixing model airplanes on the side is a business.
Right. Because you have a skill, you find customers, and you make a profit. He really demystifies the whole concept.
And it ties back to his point about trades. Those skills can be the foundation of a successful business.
Right.
No fancy degree required.
Now, most of us aren't sitting on piles of cash. So how does Mark suggest actually funding a business?
Forget venture capitalists. Mark's got the 3 Fs: friends, family, and fools.
The 3 Fs.
The 3 F.
I love it. But tell me more about this. What are the pros and cons of each?
Well, friends and family can be more understanding and flexible than traditional investors.
Okay.
But there's also the risk of damaging relationships if things go sour.
Right. Right. And the fool.
And the fools.
That's intriguing.
That's where it gets tricky. He's likely referring to people who might be more willing to take a risk on an unconventional idea, even without a proven track record.
So it's about finding investors who align with your vision.
Exactly.
Even if it's outside the box.
Exactly. Remember how Mark got his first loan?
How'd he do it?
Walked into a bank with just a business plan.
What?
And the bank manager became his first customer.
That's amazing.
Isn't that great?
It's so different from today's complex funding landscape. It really shows that a clear vision and a persuasive pitch can still work wonders. Okay, so Mark clearly loves physical products.
He does.
Especially those model airplanes. He even designs and manufactures them.
He's incredibly passionate about it. It's fascinating to hear him talk about the satisfaction of seeing his creations enjoyed by customers all over the world.
He actually designed his best-selling model at 14 years old.
14?
But waited years to manufacture it.
Wow, what persistence.
Talk about persistence and long-term vision. I think a lot of us can learn from that, especially in our fast-paced world.
Absolutely. It's a great reminder that success takes time and dedication.
Mm.
But Mark's not just about building businesses.
Right.
He's also big on investing for the future.
Yeah, and he doesn't beat around the bush. He believes everyone should have an index fund running.
Absolutely.
And if you don't, start one right now.
If you don't, start one right now.
But for those of us who aren't, finance experts,
Yeah.
can you break down why he's so keen on index funds? What's the magic of compounding he keeps talking about?
So compounding is like a snowball effect with your money.
Okay.
Basically, you earn returns not just on your initial investment, but also on the accumulated interest.
So it's about making your money work for you, even while you sleep.
Exactly.
I like it.
And index funds are great for this because they're diversified and low cost.
Okay.
Mark's been investing 10% of his earnings since he was 18.
18.
Which shows just how impactful that discipline can be over the long term.
Now, building a business and investing are great, but there's more to life than just money, right?
Absolutely. And that's where Mark's perspective on work-life balance gets really interesting.
Okay.
He's incredibly open about the sacrifices he made early on, working long hours,
Right.
and even missing some important events to build his business.
Wait, he missed his son's birth to teach a model airplane lesson?
He did, yes.
That's intense.
It definitely raises questions about finding that balance between ambition and personal life.
He even went to a competition 2 days after his son was born. Clearly, dedication is key to his success.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good reminder that success comes with trade-offs.
He does.
Right.
And he's really honest about that. He encourages open communication, especially with partners, about the demands of building a business.
So honesty and clear expectations seem vital.
Absolutely.
So you're both on the same page.
You're both on the same page.
But it's also reassuring to hear him say that the balance shifts over time. As a business grows, you can reclaim some personal time.
It's a realistic perspective.
Yeah.
Work-life balance isn't a one-size-fits-all, set-it-and-forget-it thing. It evolves with you and your business.
This has been fascinating so far.
It has.
We've covered so much ground, from challenging traditional education to the 3 F's of funding.
The 3 F's.
And even a peek into Mark's work-life balance philosophy. But there's more to come, right?
Oh, there's lots more to come. Stay tuned.
All right. We'll be right back after a short break.
Welcome back.
Yeah, I'm ready for more.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm finding his story so inspiring, especially, the way he challenges those get-rich-quick schemes you see everywhere.
Absolutely. We've seen how he values hard work, long-term vision, and, of course, the power of time when it comes to investing.
Yeah.
But remember that wild story about how he got his start in business?
You mean where his competitor basically stole his entire business plan?
I know.
That was crazy.
Imagine pouring weeks into this detailed plan for a model shop.
Yeah.
And then someone uses it to open up in your exact location, even with the same name.
It's a brutal lesson in business.
It is.
But Mark didn't let it stop him. Talk about resilience.
I know. He just refined his plan, went to a different bank, and got that loan.
And that bank manager became his first customer.
I know. Isn't that wild?
What's so fascinating here is that it shows how important persistence and adaptability are. Even with that huge setback, Mark just pivoted and moved forward. He was only 20 at the time, too.
20 years old.
With that, what's the worst that could happen? Attitude.
Right.
That's such a powerful mindset for young entrepreneurs, or really anyone starting something new.
It is.
He wasn't afraid to take the risk, even if it meant starting over.
Right.
But those early experiences with his side hustles, selling fish, flipping cars, they clearly shaped his entrepreneurial spirit.
He wasn't just chasing a quick buck. He was learning valuable lessons about opportunity, managing resources, and dealing with customers, all skills that have served him well.
And that leads us to his model shop.
Okay.
So he starts this brick-and-mortar business.
Brick and mortar.
Then, bam! The internet explodes. I'm curious, how did he handle such a massive shift?
Well, he realized early on that relying solely on physical stores wasn't going to cut it anymore.
Right.
He had to evolve. So he expanded his online presence, started selling on eBay, even built his own website.
So he basically became an early adopter of e-commerce.
Yeah, he did.
Whether he wanted to or not.
Yeah.
I bet a lot of our listeners can relate to that. Did you face similar challenges when you first took your business online?
Definitely. It's amazing how much the landscape has changed.
Yeah.
Even in the past few years.
He didn't just react, though.
Huh.
He saw the opportunity in the internet.
Yeah.
He started designing and manufacturing his own line of model airplanes.
His own line.
Filling a gap in the market he knew existed.
Mm-hmm.
That's where his passion and his business sense come together.
It does.
And remember how he designed that best-selling model when he was just 14?
Unbelievable.
He had to wait years to find the right manufacturing opportunity, but he never gave up on that vision.
And now his products are sold worldwide.
He manufactures in China and Vietnam, even licenses his designs to manufacturers in other countries.
Wow.
That's next level thinking.
It is.
Especially coming from a guy who used to sell fish from a bucket.
It really highlights the power of globalization and the opportunities that exist for those willing to think big.
Okay, so we've seen Mark's success in building businesses both offline and online.
Yeah.
But now I want to talk about his personal philosophy on wealth.
Okay.
He has some strong opinions, especially when it comes to debt and home ownership.
Yeah. He's a big advocate for owning your primary residence outright.
Yeah.
No mortgage, just pure peace of mind knowing your home is truly yours.
That's interesting considering he took out a loan to start his business. He's not completely against debt, is he?
He calls himself loan-averse.
Loan-averse.
Which I get. He believes in using debt strategically, but only for ventures that have a clear path to profit and always pay off those loans as quickly as possible.
He even said that if he could go back, he'd be less afraid of borrowing and using that money to create even more wealth. It's a nuanced view on debt, right?
It is.
Recognizing both the risks and the potential rewards.
Absolutely. And he encourages his son to be more open to using debt strategically, too.
Oh, really?
He even specifically said that he's at a great age to do that, given the longer time horizon he has.
But it's not all about the numbers, is it?
No.
What about his views on work-life balance and the value of time?
He's incredibly open about the sacrifices he made in the beginning, dedicating those long hours to his business.
Right.
Even missing some big events in his personal life.
He missed his son's birth.
He did.
I mean, I get that entrepreneurship requires dedication, but wow.
He was honest about the struggle to find balance, especially when you're first starting out.
Right.
He encourages entrepreneurs to be upfront with their partners about the demands of the business, making sure everyone's on the same page.
I think that honesty and open communication are key to any successful relationship, especially when you're juggling a business. But it's good to hear him say that the balance shifts over time. As your business grows, you can find more time for yourself and your family.
Exactly. It's a realistic approach. Work-life balance isn't static.
Yeah.
It's a journey.
It's a journey.
Now, let's talk about something that always gets people talking. Frugality versus spending for fulfillment.
Okay.
Mark has some interesting takes on this.
Yeah, he's not a fan of that whole latte factor argument.
No.
Where you scrutinize every tiny purchase.
He thinks focusing on saving those small amounts is missing the point. Instead, he wants people to focus on increasing their earning potential.
So earn more so you can enjoy those little indulgences without guilt and have plenty left over for investing.
Right.
I like that mindset.
It's about abundance, not deprivation.
Right. He's not saying to spend recklessly, but to be mindful and make choices that align with your values. He believes in rewarding yourself for achievements and investing in experiences that create lasting memories.
He even compared his spending habits to Graham Stephan, who's known for his extreme frugality.
Right.
It just goes to show there's no one-size-fits-all approach to managing finances.
It's about finding what works for you, what brings you joy, and allows you to live a fulfilling life without sacrificing your financial well-being.
Absolutely.
This is resonating with me so much. It's not about hoarding money. It's about using it to live a richer, more meaningful life.
Right.
And that aligns perfectly with his message of challenging conventional thinking and finding value in unexpected places.
He wants us to define success on our own terms, to never stop learning, and to enjoy the journey as much as the destination.
Right.
Now, before we wrap up part 2, let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
Think about your own spending habits. Do you lean more towards frugality or spending for fulfillment? What spending choices have brought you the most joy?
All right, welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the world of Mark Tilbury. We've covered so much, from his early side hustles to building multiple businesses, and even his personal philosophy on wealth and happiness. But there's one more thing I'm dying to hear more about, his experience working with his son. It's not your typical father-son business partnership, right?
Not at all. Mark admits it can get a little heated sometimes, what with their different generations and perspectives on business.
He even joked about how they almost called their podcast like father like son, just because of their arguments.
I
I
know.
mean, can you believe that? It's hilarious, but it also shows how they can laugh about their differences
Exactly.
and use that to connect with their audience.
Hmm.
And ultimately, he finds the whole experience incredibly rewarding. They've learned to work together, leverage each other's strengths, and build something successful together.
It is rewarding.
He specifically said they never could have worked together in his traditional model airplane business
Yeah.
because his son just isn't interested in that.
Right. It's a great lesson in finding common ground, even when you have different passions.
Their YouTube channel and podcast allow them to connect on a whole new level, combining Mark's experience with his son's, digital expertise.
It's a great combination.
And you can tell they're having a blast doing it.
They are.
Plus, they have this massive following. And Mark talked about how much he loves getting messages from people saying their advice changed their lives.
That's awesome.
It's a powerful reminder that sharing your knowledge and inspiring others can be incredibly fulfilling. For Mark, it seems like that impact is just as rewarding as selling a physical product.
It's a different kind of reward, isn't it?
He even compared it to the satisfaction of seeing someone enjoying a model airplane he created. It's that feeling of making a tangible difference in the world.
Right, exactly.
But of course, not all feedback is positive. He was surprisingly candid about the challenges of dealing with negative comments, especially after interviewing controversial figures like Andrew Tate.
That's right.
The Andrew Tate interview.
Yeah, that definitely stirred things up.
Mark was very open about the whole experience. He described Tate as a perfect gentleman during their interaction, but acknowledged that some of his views are definitely controversial.
Mm-hmm.
And he made a point of saying that they interview interesting people because they're interesting,
Right.
not necessarily because they agree with everything they say.
Oh, right. It's about giving their audience a chance to hear diverse perspectives and think critically.
He also emphasized that they control the editing process, making sure the final product reflects their values and intentions. It's a bold stance, especially in today's climate.
It is.
But it aligns with his whole philosophy of encouraging open dialogue and challenging assumptions.
Right. And he even addressed the whole issue of platforming,
Platforming.
saying that while freedom of speech is important, it doesn't necessarily mean everyone has a right to a platform. He believes platforms have a responsibility to curate content and prevent harmful or misleading information from spreading.
It's a nuanced perspective that recognizes the complexities of online discussions
It is.
and the need for thoughtful moderation, which brings us back to Mark's core message. Think for yourself, question everything, and don't be afraid to challenge the status quo.
Man, he's given us a lot to think about.
He has, from his unconventional career path to his business savvy, and from his practical financial advice to his philosophical musings on work-life balance and finding fulfillment.
He's shown us that success can be defined in many ways,
Right.
and that lifelong learning is key to achieving your goals.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what will you take away from Mark Tilbury's story? What will you do differently? What opportunities will you explore? Remember, it's not about copying his exact path, but rather extracting the principles that resonate with you and applying them to your own life.
Absolutely. We hope this deep dive has inspired you to think differently, challenge your assumptions, and chart your own course to success.